What up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre Reviews and Reviews. Back in here with one more video. Guys, you already know what time it is. We must get active. Now, guys, listen, I did a video not too long ago. All right. You guys enjoyed it, so we're going to run it back. I'll demand mandatory DNA tests for all of my kids, part 2. Let's finish this one up. Without further ado,
I'm gonna say something because like that, the way y'all coming is making it seem like it's just a perfect world. I got a very much personal tie to this type of situation. Like my dad, before he passed away, he has a child right now, my half daughter, and it's very much apparent that that wasn't his child. My half sister.
it's a real thing.
I'm positive. I don't have any kids.
Hey, Crown, it looks like you're dodging the question. What is the answer? If you're in a relationship, if you're married, you're still going to request your wife or your girlfriend, okay, girlfriend maybe, but your wife to have a DNA test?
I said earlier, no, I'm not going to ask for a marriage. If I'm married, I'm not going to ask for a DNA test. But if we're just like in emotion doing whatever, I'm like, yo, this is a request.
I mean, yeah, I totally
get that. The government have to pay for that.
Wait, hold on. Let me ask you a cool question. You see how y'all putting the pressure on us or whatever, like, oh, this whole mandatory thing is not. All right, real quick. If you're in a relationship, isn't there times where you will be like, yo, I want us to do a STD testing, right?
That's before we get into a relationship.
No. During your relationship, you never did that. During your relationship, you want to ask for an STD test.
No, I'm saying,
you absolutely can ask for an STD test.
But it's not mandatory.
But I mean,
the government is not paying for it.
Would you want them to make it mandatory?
No. I don't need
I don't need it to be mandatory. If you're not willing to do it, then I'm not going to sleep with you, period.
This is my case. You have to say for yourself that you're going to make that happen. No one else needs to take out that conversation for you.
The day my husband come home and ask me for a DNA test for my 3 kids, let's say if we have 3 kids, I am filing for divorce the second day because bottom line is
guilty.
No, I'm not guilty.
You're guilty.
That's not guilty. I'm married with you. I'm married.
That's guilty.
I'm married for 10 years, and then you want to. No, that's not guilt. That's disrespectful. Because to me,
you're guilty.
Maybe you don't get it.
If my husband asked me to have a DNA test for our children, whether it's 1 or 2, I will be filing for divorce because if I haven't given you any idea that I'm cheating on you, you decided to ask me for a DNA test, to me, you don't trust me. What's the point of being in that relationship?
It's not necessarily, so the thing is like, I think what she's peppering on top is that she's not a cheater and this is going to be a faithful relationship. There's a lot of cases of paternity fraud where they are in fact married. It is. This is not coming at you specifically, but you need to have empathy for the men across the table from you that through whatever actions that happen within that time period might say, wait a minute. She has the capabilities of doing X. Why don't I think she has the capabilities of doing Y? And Y might be a paternity test. So, you know, it's your prerogative. You want to get divorced, but then why? Right? Like men are expected of and required of so many different things. To expect and require a DNA test to prove that little Johnny, who doesn't look like me, is in fact Junior, I don't think it's so ridiculous. What is the point? But there really isn't a point. It's all ego. It's all ego.
It's like you asking for a lie detector.
Right.
Exactly. So then if you come and ask me for a lie detector,
I can do a lie detective test, but when you asking me for a DNA test for my kids and we've been together for 10 years, that means
you should have asked me from day one.
Yeah, that means you're doing something wrong.
No.
That means
Why does that mean?
He didn't give birth to the kids. How's he doing something?
Because you're guilty.
That's not true. No. That's not true. That's not true. That's dangerous.
That's how it always is. Cheater always like to point
That's a
fingers at
red
somebody
herring
else.
fallacy.
No,
That's
it's not.
exactly
Because
why
I was
wrong.
in a situation where I was being accused of.
So you're
I was
having a personal
being. No.
experience.
Listen, I was being accused of being a cheater when he was in fact cheating on me. So the fact. No, it's not different. It's not different.
It's incredibly different, Mama. It's incredibly different because cheating, right, is different than looking at a child and saying, he don't have any of my genetic ish, right? His eyebrows look different. His nose look different than mine. You know, he's got some of the shit of you I can see, but damn, there's some things in here which makes me a little bit questionable. It makes me a little bit questionable, but I understand her point that the person who projects the negative thing onto you might actually be the person that is doing that. I understand the point, but for paternity, there's so many other things in there that I don't know if she's considering.
Kids are involved,
And it's not different.
A DNA test 10 years later because you're having
So 10 years later.
a DNA test for something 10 years later, man, the person had built up doubt, but at the end of the day, it's not something that's crazy as regular cheating because they're coming to you about, you know that you're the mother of the child. So they're trying to figure out that point, like, am I the father of the child?
So the first one, he had no problem with it.
If we flipped it up and you're talking about cheating, well, if you ask me for a lie detector test for cheating and I say no, you're going to say I'm guilty.
Guilt.
So if you get so outraged that you said you're going to file for divorce,
I
would be
will,
like,
because you don't.
Then you must be.
3 kids? Are you kidding?
If you
I
married,
have a reason for asking for a
3
DNA
kids.
test.
You waiting for 3 kids?
Maybe I saw something that
If somebody can wait 10 years, if somebody
builds
can
up.
wait 10 years.
Sometimes it doesn't come.
at the end of the day, if a man tell me that he want a DNA test for our 3 kids, I'm gonna take it.
Why?
Because I'm not guilty.
But also because you love your husband and you want to prove to him that.
But I don't have to. But it's not about feeling like I have to prove something.
But what about
I
the
would take
resentment,
it.
though? That comes with it.
Honestly,
You
though,
can
yes.
get
And
resentment
so
from
once
anything
you
in a
find
relationship.
out all the kids are yours, do you think that our relationship is going back to normal?
exactly.
It's not.
Probably not.
It's
Probably
not.
not. But that's something
Because
you
your
can work
ego
on.
is too
And I
incredible.
wouldn't want to deal with somebody like that.
That's
somebody
never
with
something
peace of
that's
mind.
gonna go away.
I
If you
didn't say it
ask me
was.
for a DNA test for my kids, it comes back positive. The relationship is not going to be the same. Period.
I mean, why would it not be the same?
Because you showed me that you don't trust me. You've been doubting me for all these years. What have I done to you that you feel like that you've been doubting me for all these years?
It's never gonna be like that.
The line of communication should have been there from day one. When I got
Life's not
pregnant, you
perfect.
should have been like,
Life's
I
not
want to get a
perfect.
DNA test when that baby comes
what,
out.
What if it wasn't something that happened for 10 years? Maybe there was a family reunion and a cousin came to your partner and said, hey,
If my husband asked me for a DNA test, one, I would be offended. I would feel disrespected. I wouldn't care to ask him why. I would do it to shut him up. I would do it to prove that I'm not guilty, so I'm gonna do it. I don't think I would feel defensive. But at the same time, if you don't why you don't trust me? Like, it will cause an argument. I don't think our relationship would be the same at all.
I think DNA should definitely be done at birth. Anytime after that, it definitely will bring into the trust issues, and it also eliminates I raised this kid for 5, 6, 7 years, not knowing if the kid was mine or not.
Why
If a cousin can steer your mind that quickly.
This shit happens. It's not about quickly. I didn't say quickly.
So we're just out here sleeping with cousins now, apparently.
Relax. You're wrong.
See, with
So
that
relax.
type of
My point
mentality,
is,
you have the idea that
It may not-
nobody's capable of anything. And that's a dangerous
You can't put
mentality.
nothing past nobody.
That's what I'm
Facts.
trying to say. You can't put nothing.
Y'all
Nobody's
just putting
saying
words in my
that.
mouth now.
Because the thing about it is, y'all just like girls accuse guys of cheating.
Off
That's
your premise, off your gut
just
feel.
off the bat.
People have
Off
it.
the bat.
What?
Not doing
I'm
anything.
with you,
So,
but
just like you said, you ask for, like, if I ask for a lie detector test and you say no, you're guilty or whatever like that, it's the same.
No, it's not.
No. Hear what I'm trying to
Lie
say.
detector
No,
and
I'm
a
talking about the
child
guilt.
is the same thing?
everything is situational.
All right, we're talking about the guilt
Nothing's
part. We're
absolute.
talking about
Even the guilt, it's
No,
not
no.
absolute. It's situational.
I'm talking about the mentality
If
behind
I
it, though.
have 3 kids with my wife, it's 10 years into the relationship, and 4 years in, a cousin comes to me that's on her side and says, yo, there's rumors on our side, you might want to look into this thing. I'm like, nah, no, there's no way my wife would do that.
Something gave you the idea.
There's no way my wife would do that. Everything is normal, everything's cool. 3 more years go by, boom, now you see your wife interacting with that person in a super friendly way. You don't think too much about it, but then that cousin from
Comes
3 years
back,
ago
yeah.
rings in your head.
Exactly.
You still don't say nothing because you love your wife, you trust your wife. These type of things happen.
Ask your wife then. Why
Sure.
does the government have
So 6 years into the marriage, you now ask your wife denies anything happened. Cool. 3 years later, now it's 9 years into the relationship. 9 years into, no, seriously, 9 years into the relationship, another family gathering, boom. Now you see the male individual that has been referenced now for the past 6 years is now being super touchy-feely with your wife. Your wife doesn't say
So
anything.
you just gonna stand there and watch this all go
Relax,
down and
let me
nothing from it?
Wait.
She can't.
Let me finish. You confront your wife. Okay, so I saw this and it didn't sit well with me. Can you explain? Oh, nah, it's nothing. Boom, boom, boom. But then that same
cousin that was giving you the hints 7 whatever odd years ago is like, yo, by the way, like, you know, I know you weren't there, but I saw this, that, and the third. So now all the things that you
So Tunde, you ask your wife for a DNA test, your wife get a DNA test, and 2 of your kids are not yours. What are you gonna do?
We're gonna have to have a conversation about it.
What kind of conversation?
Yeah.
We're gonna
10 years in is a lot different.
So that's a great question. And to be honest with you, the way I would handle it, I would probably want a separation.
Boom, there you go. But y'all were acting like I was being dramatic for.
Nobody's being dramatic.
The situation was so different.
Explain why. I wouldn't send her packing, but it would be very clear that our union is no longer a union. So I mean, when that happens, what happens? You kind of have to separate yourself from the individual, right? Obviously, there may be things that may complicate that scenario, like maybe I have a relationship with the child that isn't mine. I raised that child, so obviously I'd still want to play a part in that child's life and not let the child suffer for a situation that wasn't his or her fault. So I would still do my best to maintain some sort of stable upbringing for that child, but I wouldn't want to actively, be with the woman that was dishonest with me.
I agree.
I would ask for a separation, likely, because you lied to me.
Multiple times.
I asked you multiple times to tell me the truth. I gave you multiple opportunities to clear the air where I would have forgiven you, if that was the case.
She's untrustworthy. She's an unsavory character.
And you lied to me multiple times. So because I've given you the opportunity to clear the air and be transparent, you refuse the opportunity to do that. And now I have the proof that I need. Now there is no trust at all.
But you got the proof that you...
Shout out to that brother, by the way. I love the way that he brought that up. And I let it play there for a quick second, even though the ladies were trying to interrupt his logic because they were I don't even know. It doesn't even make sense why you would try to interrupt his flow of thought. But he went through a example. Another word for that is a use case. He went down because he's right. It's a very situational discussion. A lot of when you bring up tumultuous topics like this, I think that the person who does not agree might go towards the outlier of a situation in order to try to prove their point. And if you talk at a very general level, you won't ever agree on anything because you're taking your own perspectives, your own inherent biases. But when you focus in on an example, and the example that he gave was very specific, at the conclusion of that, what was their response? Oh, it wasn't, damn, he should have never gotten a DNA test, or damn, it should have never benefited him. It was, well, what are you going to do if you find out the kids are not his? Which has nothing to do with the question at the top of this cast, has absolutely nothing to do with it. But if you follow on the logic trail and you bring them to a very specific instance of this happening, and that story is probably, with some key things taken in and put out, is very relevant. Let's see how it concludes.
Needed with or without a mandation.
No, but the mandation helped. No. I agree with you.
You got the proof that you needed without it being mandatory. Therefore, it does not need to be mandatory.
I've never been on the side of mandatory, but at the end of the day, that all that 6-7 years that I've been now taking care of kids that aren't mine could have been avoided if she still chose to lie to me after I had a mandatory test done. I'm not advocating for a mandatory test, but I'm simply saying that it would alleviate a lot of the nonsense that happened in that time.
Shout out to that brother.
That's one situation. I'm not saying every situation.
One situation would have been alleviated if you had personally went and asked her about it in the first place.
No. I asked her about it.
She lied in the first place. What are you talking about? Holy moly.
I'm saying ask for a DNA test in the first place. What I'm saying is that I would
have asked in the first place.
That's kind of aggressive.
But that's what I'm saying. After the third instance of like, okay,
so
I've
you
seen
just
it.
You want to avoid an awkward conversation. That's what this is more so about in the mandatory
Can I clear this up? All right, let me clear something up. For me, in a mandatory DNA test or whatever, this is how I would want it to be. If they're not in a relationship, if they're messing around, if they're fooling around, I believe it should be mandatory, honestly. And that's just, and whether you feel like it's petty or whether
not
you feel
about money, just the
it's not even about
mandatory means everybody. If you make it mandatory, it's everybody. Whether you married, you got a boyfriend, a side piece, whatever.
Yes.
But maybe that's what it was. Like I said, the way I understood the question was a lot different. Like
he didn't give circumstances.
I mean mandatory like upon request, because people duck and dodge requests.
It is mandatory upon request.
Yes, it is.
If you go to court and ask ask for a DNA test, you have to take it.
No, you don't.
First of all, my dad, like with the same situation, like
in America,
hold on, in America, like with a situation where his wife was in his ear and he tried to get a DNA test on me when I was 19. It's not mandatory in the state of New Jersey.
It is.
In New Jersey, I don't have.
Ask for it. It's mandatory.
After the kid goes past 18, they don't have to get a DNA test anymore. They don't have to get a paternity test, and not because in that instance, you don't have to do it. You don't have to comply to it.
Let's also talk about the relationship though. My thing is that you've introduced this DNA test however long in our relationship. You find out the kids are yours.
Right.
What do you want us to do now? How are we supposed to get together? How are we supposed to be cool? You don't trust me.
Right.
That's why you don't wait to the end. If it's done at the beginning, of course there's going to be trust issues, but across the board, if it's something that everyone's doing, then there's no reason for you to be like, oh, well, you don't trust me because everyone has to do it.
It would never have
anyway.
occurred.
It
in effect eliminates the mistrust later on because his cousin has been telling him one thing and then he sees some interaction happen. It eliminates all that would happen in the future because you get it in the front. They're trying as hard as they can to fight up against this. And I don't know why.
eliminates that trust factor because I'm not asking just you.
There's a point.
This is something.
So now it's going against societal norm. So it's like if everyone had to do it, eventually, like obviously at the beginning there'd be a lot of pushback, but once it became,
it takes the onus off.
Exactly. Then it wouldn't be like, oh, I requested it or I made you do it.
Or I don't trust you. No, it's just
the results came back.
I just feel like if you never had any sign that I was doing anything wrong,
but even
there's absolutely no reason why my child has to do a DNA test.
That's part of the problem. A lot of people never get that sign and they end up raising a kid that's not theirs. That's fucked up.
No, people are not paying attention then. Because
it's not about paying attention.
You can't tell somebody's cheating.
No, sometimes you can. Ridiculous lady.
Never heard of the statement that cheaters are sociopaths?
No,
you ever heard of that?
It's not even about being sociopath. No, first of all, it's naive.
I can't agree with that because as a woman, I was cheated on and I didn't know that my man was cheating on me.
Yeah.
Everybody's probably been in a situation where they didn't know their partner was stepping on them.
You probably
You're
one of your partners cheating on you.
There's no way you can see that. So that's a little naive.
No, I think there are signs you're not paying attention to those.
Oh, God.
I was in a relationship where I was living with my man. He was home every day. We was sleeping in my bed every day. And he still had a whole nother relationship going on. And he was sleeping in my bed every day. There was not a day he did not come home. And he still was in a whole nother relationship.
Have you ever been cheated on?
Period. Yes. Nothing was different. This is a man that took me on vacations, bought me what I wanted. There were no signs. I did not feel like I was being cheated on, period.
Social media, you should know. You will know.
Oh, God.
Not everybody.
What a crazy lady. She's insane.
I need to put you on social media fast. You better fast.
You know what? But let me say this, Chavis. What I'm saying is like, you know what? You stunned me with that point. I'm not gonna lie. Like I sat back, I was like, okay, bet. But what I will say is that there may be. But what I would say is that maybe it's just what I want in my man. I want a man that is strong enough and confident enough in whatever to come to me and ask me. I don't want it to be mandated. It's not an easy one, but I expect that from you. I expect that.
I agree.
I would just but this is what I'm saying. I would prefer that. I would prefer it. I don't want it to be just because whatever it's regulated that we have these tests. If you feel the need to have it, come to me.
Then how are you gonna feel after that?
It's gonna suck, but I still need that in my partner.
I don't know if my husband is seeing tomorrow if he come to me asking for some DNA tests. We had these babies.
This is this strong black women shit that you hear all day. So I expect him to come to me. And then she says,
I don't know if my husband is seeing tomorrow if he come to me asking for some DNA tests. We had these
purely ridiculous. This is pure ridiculousness. So you expect that of him, and then when he does do that, he may not see tomorrow. Make it mandatory. It would eliminate that from ever even happening.
These babies together. I've been supporting you. You've been supporting me. Now you want to come up and talk about swabbing cheeks? No. Absolutely not.
we fighting. That's what I'm saying. We fighting.
So she's gonna try to make your life a utter and living hell. She's going to attempt to do that, but then says, but I expect him to be strong enough. I expect him to be a real man enough. I expect it. Again, same thing I said in the other video. Whoever chooses to put a ring on that finger, may God have mercy on your soul.
Look, not every woman is built like you. Not everybody's built like you. Not every man is built like most of us that are here. You know what I'm saying? Like your expectation of every woman is because you inherently you subconsciously expect all women to behave like you and think like you. That's unfortunately not the reality. And it's the same thing for us. I'm expecting for all men to want to confront their partner if they think something's wrong. I would do that because that's how I was raised, to confront things. There are people that don't do that, and I know a lot of men that wouldn't.
Everyone talks about communication.
So I can't expect for me to approach any woman and ask for the truth and get the truth, because I know not every woman was raised like women in my home. So when you assumptions are dangerous for that reason. So when you assume, oh, I'm not being cheated on, or I am getting cheated on, that's problematic. But when there's things in place that remove all doubt, it helps everyone. I'm not saying anything should be mandatory, but I think more people should definitely be more open to doing the DNA testing and not getting offended when things like that are requested to them. Because at the end of the day, I think
offensive.
Sure, it could be, but you know what's more. But no.
If my husband asked me to take a DNA test, best believe after the results come back positive, I will be getting my Mercedes-Benz. I'm going on vacation, all on your dime, shopping. If you want things to go back to being normal, you're spending.
Why is it
it's just they continue to talk about how a man requesting a DNA test of them, how is it going to make them feel? It's like they can't get up out of their own feelings of how it would make them feel to understand, well, why is he asking this? Does he have reason to believe something? Right? He's concerned about this. Right? How about we open the dialogue of communication? It's all about me. That's all I hear from the other side of the table. That's all I hear, and not a consideration of how disrespectful, like bump the disrespect of him asking. What about the disrespect of the many men that are raising children that are not their own? Absolutely ridiculous. A little bit more.
Offensive to you?
I mean, if I'm in a relationship with you, especially if I'm married to you, it should be known.
Have you ever been cheated on?
Have I been cheated on yet?
So you literally just
you dodging the question. Have you cheated before?
No, but have you cheated?
Thank you.
I mean, yes, I have.
Sure.
I have cheated before, but I wasn't married.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Yes, I have cheated before. I mean, once when I was like really young and like it was nothing, and then recently I was in like a terrible relationship. I was very honest with him about it. It was a conscious decision. Like I didn't really want to be with the person that I was with, and it was a cry for help, really.
Taking back all the good things I said are better in the first video. Guys, I'm gonna leave the video right here. I don't think they're gonna add in the discussion anymore of what they went over in this video. I'll leave a link down in the description box down below. Again, there's still a lot more in this video for you guys to look at and go over. All right. At the end of the day, just make it mandatory. Just make it mandatory upon request. All right. Make it mandatory upon request. Why not? All of the situations that they're talking about, of feeling bad that he asked 10 years later, all of these, and here's the thing. If you test in the beginning, none of that would happen later on. None of it. Just add it as another line item to the bill. All right. Another line item to the bill. All right. And whether or not the government pays for it, don't even worry about that. Just add it as something that can be done and make it open and honest for all of the participants, right, within the hospital, that yes, this is getting done right after the test, and we'll have your results in 2 to 3 weeks or whatever like that. But right now, it's not something that is offered to a degree with the transparency that it needs to be. So dudes are at the hospital signing names on birth certificates when they're not sure. And that is a problem. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Guys, listen, do you guys prefer these longer types of reactions where I talk less and let the videos play longer? You guys let me know. Would appreciate your feedback on it. You understand what I'm saying? Until next time, YouTube. Peace.